Hello, we're here in New York City for Ethernet Expo at the Hilton, New York. I'm Phil Harvey, Editor-in-Chief of Light Reading. Right here is Ray LeMaitre, International Managing Editor of Light Reading. And Ethernet Expo starts in this very spot tomorrow. And also, on Wednesday night, we relocated the Leading Lights Awards to be not on this very spot, but on the spot one floor above us.
But in the same hotel instead of downtown where it was going to be originally?
Yes, so we've got a little bit easier accommodation for people attending. The show's still going on, obviously, but we need to talk about what's happening at the show. What's the program all about, and what we're expecting over the next couple of days.
Well, as usual, there's going to be talk about the Ethernet exchanges. We're a couple of years on from them being launched, and how things are progressing there. Yeah,
it's an interesting thing because they started out as these carrier-neutral public connection points. Now they've kind of morphed into more private, direct connections to carriers, and that's actually become something that the carriers themselves pushed for. And a lot more detail, we'll get into that on lightreading.com tomorrow. We've got a story by Dan O'Shea that'll sort of kick off the discussion.
Yeah.
And we expect to hear from all of the major carrier exchanges here at the show.
Sure. And what about other topics? I mean, you know, the big one, I guess, that everybody's expecting to be talked about is software-defined networking, SDN.
Right.
That's on the agenda pretty early, I think.
Yeah, one of the first sessions, I can't recall if it's a keynote or not, but one of the first sessions we're talking about software-defined networking and its role in Ethernet delivery.
And that's going to be pretty interesting because, like, you know, a lot of people just don't quite know how that's fitting into the whole ecosystem and how SDN is going to be used in different types of networks. So it'll be interesting to get a view of the carrier Ethernet side of the fence.
Yeah, and how do you keep the value in Ethernet when you're shifting the control to a different part of the network, or you're virtualizing some part of the network that before you had dedicated equipment to run? That's going to be a question that I think the carriers are going to want to hear from the equipment makers and maybe dictate what they want. From how this new technology is implemented.
Yeah.
One other thing is always the bandwidth race. You know, we're always talking about getting to 100 gig, and now we're talking about getting to terabit or 400G or whatever's next. And in that context, I mean, we've got a couple of sessions on how that's progressing, and so that's always worth attending because transport is a huge.
And the pricing of transport as well.
Yeah, the thing that sort of this always brings up is the commoditization of these connections. You know, when Ethernet itself becomes a commodity and price erosion has started, how are service providers dealing with that? And one of the things that's helping them out, of course, is improved management tools and policy and being able to add more to each connection. So it'd be interesting to hear from all the different operators as to how far along they are, because we know the technology's here, but some of the carriers don't have the internal processes to really cope with it yet. So I'm interested to hear some of that.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, all of the things you just said, but no,
of course.
There's obviously a lot of stuff going on. There's all the backhaul stuff, there's MPLS-TP, there's the development of Carrier Ethernet 2.0 and all the OANM stuff, so plenty to talk about over the next couple of days, and it's going to be, well, it's 3 days, isn't it?
3 days.
Three cracking days coming up.
In fact, the third day is more about wholesale services, so that's another dimension to Ethernet, is taking this into the wholesale arena and selling to other carriers, and what that market is like now. We have a couple of companies that have been huge successes in that space that are going to be talking on Thursday, and that's a half day's worth of content. So 2.5 full days, Leading Lights here Wednesday night, and then you in the hotel bar, just about the whole time, right?
It's a 3-day party.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we hope you'll join us.